Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. And I want to say Shalom to Yakanakwaut out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. And this is a little mini-series. At least I think it might be. Alright, you never know at the end of the day. It could go longer, it could go shorter. And it's titled, "A lot of you Jakes calling yourself in the truth aren't even ready for the end." Okay? A lot of you Jakes calling yourself in the truth aren't even ready for the end. Okay? And this is something that I've seen personally, alright, that I've witnessed. You know, with people that have qualities not fit for end-time survival, alright, that are pleading and begging for the end, right? And that's hence the title. A lot of you Jakes calling yourselves in this truth or in the truth aren't even ready for the end. All right, you're not where you need to be. Now, anybody, nobody's ever really as fully prepared as they ought to be. All right, you can only be so prepared, right? It's like the same, you know, when you think about the military. All right, I wasn't in the military, but in the military, all right, if they're sending you out on an assignment, all right, say, hey, we got hostiles, all right, you know, at this specific coordinate, you know you're gonna get there. You know you're probably gonna be under fire. You know you're gonna get, you know, oh, should I get 10 magazines or should I get 15 magazines? Should I bring 3 grenades or should I bring 5 grenades? You know, should I carry a light pack or should I carry a heavier pack? Because if I carry a heavier pack, you know, I'll have more stuff. But what if we get ambushed? We got a tail end out there. Then I have this heavy pack. Now I'll have to leave my stuff on. You know, you have to make all these things, and you know what you're gonna get into. You know what's gonna go there, and you have the right equipment. But once you get there, it's going to happen in a way that, you know, it's like, I always explain it as a concert, all right? That's how, you know, the end is going to be like a concert in a way, because you've seen music videos, right? You've heard music, right? You've seen live performances as far as on YouTube or on video, but if you've never been to a concert, all right, and you haven't heard the dynamic audio, all right, playing through your ears from all around, all right, and feeling the bass and the drums in your feet, and because of the PA stacks, and feeling the heat of the crowd and the voices of the crowd, you never really know what it's like to be in a concert, all right? It's the same way as, like, you can watch someone skydive, but if you've never skydived, okay, you're not going to know you're not going to actually feel how it feels. So we know about the end, but with how bad it's going to be, we know how bad it's going to be, but it's going to be a sobering experience, all right, for lack of a better word, being because we're in Jacob's trouble. When Jacob's trouble really kicks off in martial law, we understand it now, we feel it, and we're preparing, but it's going to have a different feeling. All right, you're going to have the gist of it. You're going to know and you're going to be prepared, but it's going to have a different feeling when you're really, really in it. Okay, so that's when I say you can only be so prepared. You can only be so prepared for a situation that you've never faced. Okay, and none of us have been through something like that ever. All right, not even in our past lives, because the scripture says, you know, it's going to be a worst time, you know, that's ever been. All right, no, nor ever shall be. Roughly paraphrasing. So no one's ever been through something so terrible. Okay, so you can only be so prepared, and that's for men and women that are truly doing what they need in sincerity through Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. There's people that aren't even really even on the right path. All right, they're either they're on the left path or they're veering off. All right, they're walking the line. Okay, you know, in one foot, out one foot, or they have bugged out ideologies, or they're focusing on things that are not important. And that's really what we're talking about here. A lot of people, you know, they're hoping for that. I want to get out of here, brother. I want to get out of here, brother. And we have a couple different topics here. Today we're dealing with topic number 1, which is still tied down to addiction, smoking, drinking too much, even sex, all right, as I put in. Even sex, you know, you're constantly chasing cat. All right, this is not the time for that. You can eat some cat on the side, whatever, sure, fine. But constantly, you know, in pursuit of pussy is not the mindset to be in this truth. Constantly, you know, here it is, you're not making lessons, you're not praising the Lord, you're just worried about the next piece of tail that you can get. All right, and that's likened into an addiction. All right, if you're constantly worried about sex this, sex that, yeah, man, that's fucking you up in the mind, man. That's fucking you up. All right, you're not thinking correctly because you're thinking about, these women have fucked you up in the mind. All right, there's a song that I sometimes quote. It's by an artist named Frank Zappa. Now, he's a little weird. He's a little out there, a little psychedelic. I like him, though. I like a lot of weird music, though. And he is a good artist once you get past the weirdness, and an excellent composer. And he has a song called Lucille Has Really Messed My Mind Up. All right, and that's really what's happened with a lot of you men is these women have really messed your mind up. Okay, so sex can do this. Smoking, whether it's smoking weed or smoking Newports or Cools or Marlboros or Pall Malls or Crowns or Markets or whatever the fuck you're smoking. All right, I used to smoke cigarettes back in the day. Yeah, but is that any reason to lose everything you have? All right, for a cancer stick? No, it's not. Or drinking too much. Now, drinking is lawful. Okay, sex is lawful too. All right, as long as it's not adultery. But if that's all you're doing, now it's become to a point where you're replacing the Lord. It's become an addiction. All right. Same thing with drinking. If you drink every once in a while, that's fine. But here it is, every single night you gotta get fucked up. All right. Every single night you gotta get fucked. Or you're waking up in the morning and you're drinking. All right. Or the only thing you're looking for today. All right. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna do my lessons. And I'm gonna drink. All right. I'm just gonna drink and drink and drink and drink and drink. All right. That's an addiction. And technically, after you do your lessons, everything, that is your free time. You can do what you want, right? But not as long as it's lawful. But if you're just constantly chasing that next inebriation state, that's an addiction, man. That's an addiction. If you're like, every Friday I'm gonna get fucked up out of my mind. That's really, you've made it into a ritual, and that's an addiction, man. That's an addiction. Another one, focusing too much on things that are not important currently. Beauty, vanity, over righteousness. You see it big with women, worrying about their hair, worrying about how they smell, worrying if they're, this or that, right? Or over righteousness. I'm gonna do 3 million lessons a day. There's no way you're gonna be able to pull that off, all right? Do what the Lord has granted you to be able to do, all right? If He's granted you the ability to do 2 lessons a day, do it. Now, if you have the Spirit on you to start doing 3, do it. If you have the Spirit on 4, but if you don't have the Spirit on you and you're trying to do 30 lessons a day, 9 times out of 10, man, they're gonna come out like garbage. All right, you're gonna have 35-minute lessons that really aren't edifying. There's not really much edification coming from it, and that you need to have a fine line between quality over quantity and quantity for quality. All right, if you can do, look at the apostle, Tahar specifically. All right, he makes several lessons a day, and they're all quality. If you're gonna make several lessons a day, you got to make sure they're quality. All right, if the Spirit's on you to only make 2 or 1, all right, at least make sure they're quality. All right, or run them longer. All right, there's no reason to have 30 lessons in a day, but they're all 2 minutes long, and the quality's not really there. All right. So there's that. But over righteousness, thinking that you're gonna do, I'm gonna be perfect. No, you're focusing on things that are not important currently. Our important goal is strengthening ourselves through Yahweh Shemi Shai and doing what we're supposed to be doing as men or women in this truth to the best of our ability. All right, we can't be over righteous and say, I'm gonna keep all 613 of the law, or I might not be able to do 613, but I'll keep 533. No, you won't. No, you won't. No, you won't. Leaning into your understanding, that perfectly lines up with this. Leaning into your own understanding, leaning into bugged out thought patterns, being too deep. All right, bugged out thought patterns and being too deep. How would I explain that? Just being too deep. All right, thinking, I don't even say 6. I skip over that. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 2. Then I go to 7. Certain shit like that, or trying to just bugged out shit. All right, bugged out ideologies. All right, thinking that I don't know. I can't even. I'd have to really. We'll get there as we get to it. But bugged out thought patterns. All right, it's self-explanatory. Bugged out thought patterns would be like. It's hard for me to come up to one because I don't really lean into bugged out thought patterns. But bugged out thought patterns would be like, I don't know, like predicting, trying to, be like not as a prophet or prophetess, but trying to be like Sylvia Brown and trying to just coming up with shit. All right, or making shit up, or saying that the Lord has sent you visions when he hasn't sent you visions. What's some other bugged out shit? Bugged out thought patterns. Thinking that some other book holds a key other than the Bible that we need to have. If you look at the Egyptian Book of the Dead, there's really some things in there. That's bugged out. All right, that's bugged out. Of course, thinking that you're King David, there's something that's bugged out. All right, I'm King David. All right, or even worse, thinking that you're Yahushai. All right, bugged out. That's bugged out. Right? Being too deep. All right, being too deep. I'm a never, ever, never will I ever purchase on Sabbath. There's some times where you're gonna have to, man. All right, we have mercy. All right, now should you be purchasing on Sabbath? No, but if you have no food or something like that and you gotta buy something, you gotta buy something. All right, you're not just gonna sit and starve. Now, if the Spirit's on you to fast, then fast. All right, but you're not just gonna starve. Okay. Weighed down with stumbling blocks, all right, or weighed down by stumbling blocks is what I'm going to change it to. All right, and some of these stumbling blocks, you see a lot of these are women-centric, multiple heathen wives. A lot of women, they're really wanting to be at the end of this thing, all right, and they're saying, I can't wait to get out of here. I can't wait to get out of here. Yet they have a problem with men, all right. In general, like you see, men being in rule, they have a problem with men. All right, men's authority. All right, men speaking. All right, another one you see a lot with these Hebrew Israelite adjacent Christians. All right, they agree with some of the things the Hebrew Israelites say, but they don't believe the heathens are going to be in captivity. Right? No, God saves all. No, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. All right, they have a problem with the heathens being in captivity when it's all throughout the Bible, and we'll get those scriptures when we get there. And then the multiple wives or heathen wives. That there's a lot of so-called black women and Latino women and Native American women, or Latina women and Native American women out there that claim they're in this truth. They love it, but they really have an issue with men in the kingdom are going to be getting and having concubines, which are heathen women. They're going to have an issue with that. All right, and it's gonna happen. All right, there's nothing so you're really not ready for the end. And of course, multiple wives, or they have an issue. I'm the only one. Ain't no man gonna have other woman over me. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. They will have plenty of women. Now, the heathen women, the concubines, aren't gonna be over you. All right, all the women are essentially gonna be likened to equals. All right, you can't give one a diamond ring and then the other one you just give a fucking brass ring. No. All right, but at the end of the day, there are going to be multiple wives. If you don't like that, too bad, too sad. There's nothing you can do about it. Womp womp, as they say. So a lot of you jakes calling yourself in the truth aren't really even ready for the end. All right, you're saying, I want to get out of here. I want to get out of here. For your sake, you better hope Yahweh Shemi Shai delays his coming. For your sake, you better hope. All right, and that's not something you should be hoping. I'm just saying, in the state that you're in, some of you people, you better be hoping that Yahweh Shemi Shai doesn't come back as quick as he's coming. You better hope he postpones it, right? And there's no postponing with the Lord. I'm just being, silly with it. I'm just saying, for your sake, you better hope. If the Lord's coming back next week, you better hope he's coming back next month. All right, you better hope. If he's coming back next year, you better hope he comes back 4 years from now. All right. So you have time to fucking fix what you got going on. You're saying, I can't wait to get out of here. I can't wait to get out of here. This place is a hell in me. No, you for your sake, you better hope that Yahweh Shemi Shai takes his time coming back, because you're not in the right state, man. A lot of you jakes calling yourself in this truth aren't even ready for the end. Why? Because you're not in the right state. You're not in the right state. And today what we're talking about is the substance abuse, man. The alcohol, the sex, or whatever. And the first one is going to be Proverbs 11:1. All right, Proverbs 11:1. And when we get into this, the big one we're seeing today, we're talking about alcohol and substance abuse. All right, primarily alcohol. Okay, because that's the big one. Because a lot of people in the truth, they know not to be using cocaine and heroin, right? Heroin and all these different things, right? But you're not supposed to, we're allowed certain things. For example, you're allowed to consume marijuana or cannabis, all right, to an extent, all right. Should you be getting fucked up on it all the time? No. And can you smoke it? No. But at the end of the day, if you take it orally, edibly, all right, or topically, all right, that's fine, all right. Now, the state on using it just to get high is kind of like, I'm not too sure on that. All right, you shouldn't be getting fucked up all the time. All right, but for medical reasons, that's fully allowed. All right, fully around now. Using it to relax in a state like how you would use alcohol, I'm not so sure about that. I haven't heard the apostles or elders really talk too much about it. So if that's something that you're curious on, really it's not that important at the end of the day anyway. But that'd be something that you'd have to seek counsel from them on. But if you use it, for like to sleep or something at night or whatever, you're naturally going to get a little what they would call high or a little stoned. All right, it's naturally. It's just in the tetrahydrocannabinols. But you shouldn't be probably searching out the highest THC amount. Try to get a 50-50 blend would be the best, all right? And I don't even use it. Not to say that I would never. I've used it in the past while I've been in this truth for, like, sleeping. But I'd try to look for a 50-50 blend, all right? 50% THC, 50% CBD, all right? And the reason is you don't want something too high in tetracannabinols or tetrahydrocannabinols because that's a psychoactive. That's just going to get you fucked up, and it's not going to really... it will relax you to an extent. It's the same reason why, things like morphine works, all right? Yes, there are compounds that heal it, but it's the same reason where it's that psychoactive effect or that high feeling, all right, that actually helps you forget about that pain and or sleep or whatever, all right? Again, and that doesn't mean you can use heroin medicinally. No, that's off. All right, now, in the natural state, yes, opium was a healing medicine, but opium's horribly illegal. All right, again, it's not circumspect to have that, but cannabis in a lot of places is legal. All right, now if it's not legal, I wouldn't be going out and trying to search it out. You're gonna get fried. But if you're in a place like here in Vegas, it's legal. All right, for medicinal and recreational. So if you got back pains or something and you need to consume cannabis, you're not wicked for that. If you need to consume it, consume that. All right, Yahweh Shmi Shai put herbs on here for a reason. All right, now, again, if you're using it all day, every single day, just to get as fucked up as you can, that's where it starts becoming wicked. All right, same thing with alcohol. There's a scripture, what is it? Poor man, strong drink, so he can forget his woes and his miseries, right? There's a scripture, it says, we can get it right here. King James Online was right under it, but this is fine. Proverbs 31:6-7, it says, give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish. And so if someone was going to die, you could give them strong drink. Or another case likely would be opium, all right, or something like that. Now, you wouldn't smoke it, but an opium tea or something like that would be brewed to, get rid of the intense pains. For example, say if you got, your arm chopped off or something. Opium, that's a state where opium was more than likely used. The Lord gave us herbs, all right, and he who is wise would not abhor them. Roughly paraphrasing, you can look that up. Would not abhor them. You can go look that up, and it should bring that scripture up. And if a brother wants to post it down below, they can. In verse 7, it says, let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more. So that's another thing. It says, Slacky, I forgot the second part. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy heart. So, if you're in sorrow, it says, let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more. Does that mean you do it every day? No. Moderation. All right, that's where we get back into, that's where we go back into Proverbs 11:1. It says, a false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. And I believe this was originally talking about a scale, all right, a falsely set up scale. For example, if it would weigh in the favor of the person buying. So if you had 10 ounces of silver, it would really say there's 5 ounces of there, trying to get over on someone. But this scripture is also useful for a false balance. The scriptures say, let everything be done decently in order. That's through Yahweh Shmi Shai. And with that, decently in order, everything has to be in a right balance. Now, that doesn't mean, if I balance wickedness in a just way. No, it just, if you take too much of a good thing, can become bad. All right, if you drink too much milk, you're gonna fucking puke. If you eat too much food, you're gonna puke. If you drink too much water, you can actually drown. There's actually a condition. It's something like something asphyxiation, I believe. If a brother wants to post that, they can as well. But it's a thing where if you drink too much water, you will. It's called dry drowning. All right, you can actually drown from consuming too much water. So Proverbs 11:1 says, a false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. You can see that with cannabis. You can see that with alcohol. If you drink every once in a while, that's fine. You have a little bit of wine with dinner each night. That's fine, because wine is good for your stomach. There's another scripture that talks about that, and a little bit of wine for his stomach's sake. All right. But again, a little bit of wine, a little bit. And if you see how rich people drink their wine, they're not drinking fucking whole ass glasses, right? They're not getting fucked up all the time. All right, there's a little bit of wine. You sip on it, all right, with your dish, all right, your whatever you're having, all right, chicken or whatever you have to be pasta, whatever you happen to be having at the time. All right, but here it is, you 3, 4, 5 cups in every night. No, you're not supposed to be doing that. All right, now if you use it a little bit each day, like just a little sip, that's fine. All right, for like infirmities and your stomach's sake, right? That's fine, because you're not really getting drunk from that. You're essentially utilizing it as an elixir or a tonic or a tincture, right? And that's fine. But if you're getting drunk, again, that's a false balance constantly, all the time, just getting fucked up. Same thing if you use cannabis or marijuana, all right, weed, however you want to call it. I don't like calling it weed, because weed's the term for people that like to get fucked up. All right, I even back in the day when I smoked it, back when I smoked it, I did call it weed or getting some weed. But a lot of the time I'd call it, marijuana or cannabis. All right, cannabis is my favorite term to use. It cannabis. All right, cannabis. But yeah, with cannabis, you're allowed to consume it. All right, but if you're constantly getting as high as you fucking possibly can, that's off, man. That's going off. That's a false balance. Again, if you use it every now and then, or for example, if you're using it in the right way, if you take small micro doses of it, 5, 10 milligrams, whatever, it depends on your tolerance, every night, because you have a condition such as back pain or some type of pain or insomnia, and you have to, utilize that, all right, through Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, then that's fine. But if you're using it every day as much as you can just to be fucking schmockered out of your mind, then yeah, that's an issue. That's an issue. All right, that's an issue. And it's the same thing, you can take a good thing like cannabis or alcohol, all right, that can be used in a good extent. And now you're using it in excess, and you're really, you're using it in a polluted way. All right, you're using it in a polluted way. And a lot of time when you use too much of something, it can make you sick. Again, too much milk and you'll sick, too much honey and you'll vomit. That's in the scriptures. All right, that's really talking about the truth. All right, not eating so much of it that you end up vomiting. All right, that's like when you first come in, and it becomes like, wow, I know all this, and then you try to deep dive, and then you end up bugging out. All right, because you went too fast. All right, food is good. You eat too fast, you'll puke. All right, drink too much water, you're drowned. All right, so clothing is good. You need to be clothed. You put too much on, you'll boil. All right, or if you're in a cold area, you put too little on, and you have to have a right balance. All right, again, Proverbs 11:1, a false balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. You have to have the right balance, man. You got to have the right balance. Okay, you got to. So dealing more with alcohol, Isaiah 5:11 shows it. It says, woe unto them, and woe is death and destruction, right? This is what's going to happen to those people. It says, unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink, that continue until night, till wine inflame them. That's another thing. Too much alcohol, alcohol in general is inflammatory. All right, in general, even in little amounts, it's inflammatory. All right, you don't want to be so inflamed. All right, and if you're taking other herbs, that inflammation will calm down. But alcohol, and in general, in the state it is now, at least in the way they refine it now, and you got to realize, wine back then wasn't as strong. Everything, cannabis back in those days was not as strong. Even back in the 70s, people talked about weed was not. There's some strong fucking weed now, man. Like the weed now is crazy strong. All right, I don't even know what it's like now, because I haven't even consumed marijuana in a good 3 or 4 years. Last time I did it was an edible, a little gummy. It was pectin, so it didn't have any gelatin or anything in it. No pork. And I ate it, and it was way too strong. It was supposed to be 10. It was a 10 or a 5 milligram, and it didn't kick in. Now, I'd used weed for a long time, and I know the fucking rule on edibles is not to, take another one before it kicks in. But like I said, I used weed for a long time. I was a pothead back before this truth. And I knew I waited about the hour, 2 hours, and nothing happened. And just like it always happens, as soon as I took that other fucking edible, I took another one, the other one just started to kick in. All right, so I was way too messed up, man. And it put me off from because I was trying to use it to relax and go to bed, and I couldn't even go to bed because I was so fucked up, right? So it's like the same thing, you use a little alcohol or whatever to relax, and then you drink too much. Now you're up. Now you're puking and all that shit. Everybody that's had, partied has known alcohol, a little bit of alcohol, or a cup or two, or a cup, depending on what you're drinking, or relax you and mellow you out. You keep drinking, you're gonna get drunk and get a buzz, and now you're gonna be up and ready to party, man. All right, singing karaoke, dancing and shit. So again, make sure that balance is right. But I haven't even used it. But I know that's the last time I did it, that shit was strong as fuck. All right? 5 milligrams back in the day used to be nothing, man. 5 milligrams now, crazy, man. You might want to half that shit. All right? But again, I'm not giving you any advice. All right? I'm not saying go out and start using alcohol or cannabis medicinally. I'm just saying that, it is something that it's not unlawful. Okay? You just got to make sure you're doing it in the right way. Okay, and use your discernment, all right? I'm not saying you should go out and do anything, because I don't want to be responsible. You say, I could use weed, now you go out and now you're getting fucked up on it. I never said you could do that, all right? If you need to use it for some back pain, or, you can't relax or sleep at night and you need to use it for that, that's one thing, but you don't need to be just getting fucked up all the time just to get fucked up, all right? That's not right. And like I said, personally, I don't even do it. Not to say I would never do it in the future, all right? Because I've thought about it, because I have sleep issues, but I'm like, I don't want to risk it, all right? I don't want to risk it. If I did, it would have to be a really light dose, and I'd have to do a trial run of it to see how it affected me and if it actually helped sleep or not, all right? So I'm not going to abhor it and say don't do it. I mean, the herbs are there for a reason, but I'm not going to recommend that you start if you're not, all right? But anyway, disclaimer out there, all right? I don't want to say, you said I could do it, but I didn't say shit. I said, biblically, yes, lawful. It is technically lawful, all right? Now, if you don't start using it in an unlawful way, I can't be responsible for that. I told you don't do it in excess. I told you not to do it in a false balance. All right. And if you haven't started, then maybe not do it. All right. If you don't know how it's going to affect you. All right. But Isaiah 5:11, it says, woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink. So those people that wake up, the first thing they're doing is they're drinking in the morning. Or even if they're trying to mask like a mimosa or a tequila sunrise or whatever it is. All right. The first thing you're doing in the morning is drinking. That's ridiculous. It says that continue until night. You drink from the time you wake up to the time you sleep. It says that wine inflame them. Now you're inflamed. Okay? Now you're inflamed. And with that inflammation, that's bad for your temple, man. That's bad for your temple. You don't want that. Right? You don't want that. And I guess we'll go into it right now. But you don't want that, because really, that's polluting your temple. Right? It says right here, 1 Corinthians 3:16, it says, know ye not that ye are the temple of Yahweh, and that the Spirit of Yahweh dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of Yahweh, him shall Yahweh destroy. For the temple of Yahweh is holy, which temple you are. We are holy. It says, be ye holy, for I am holy. All right? Now, we already have issues with our health, right? I try to eat better, and I still got inflammation in my neck and shit. And I don't really know what causes it at the end of the day, but I definitely don't want, I try to stay better with my diet. And do I eat fucked up shit sometimes? Yes. All right. Yes, I do eat fucked up shit sometimes, but if I can, I try to eat better things or just cook at home. But I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say I don't ever eat anything bad. Sometimes I do. All right. Sometimes it gets the best of me, and I go get a fried chicken sandwich. Sometimes I do. Yes, but I try not to. All right. That's like a treat, and really it's not a treat, it's a poison. All right, treat myself with a poison. That's Babylon for you. But sometimes you get that craving for it, right? And I can't say I'm better to the point where, oh, I never do it. I do it sometimes. I try not to do it, but I do it, all right? But even that on a level is defiling your temple, all right? So you don't want to be constantly polluted. You don't want to pollute it ever, all right? But again, that's why we have Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai's mercy. But you can't just willingly pollute it as much as you want just to, because you want to be an alcoholic. No, man. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. And as far as drugs go, using drugs, you shouldn't use those at all. All right, and again, you got to be one deep, not too deep. So really, because drugs are witchcraft. All right, drugs are witchcraft. That is sorcery. Okay, using and again, we have the mercies. If you got to use it, if for example, if you have, some type of spinal condition and you just have to use oxycodone or hydrocodone or Oxycontin or Vicodin or Percocet, you just have to do it. You're not using it to get fucked up. You have to do it because you have such severe pain. The Lord knows why you're using it, man. All right, there was a time, when I got my teeth removed, I had to take a Percocet. All right, so it was that bad, and I would usually never, but I had to. But they also gave me a bottle of other high, controlled substance pain relievers, and I didn't use any of those. All right, I got rid of them. All right, didn't use any of them, just got rid of them. I said, I don't need these. All right, just gone. All right, don't need them. Where are we at here? Because it was made of that one night. All right, that one night I needed it, and the other night the Tylenol worked. But that one night, man, it was fucking bad. It was like the 2 or 3 days after I got it removed. It wasn't the first day. It wasn't the second day. It was like the third or fourth day, and really the pain stepped in. That shit was horrible. But you can see here the Greek word for witchcraft is pharmakeia, right?
Strong's G 5331. Pharmakeia. Pharmakeia.
All right, pharmakeia, or it sounds and looks like pharmacy. All right, and it means the use or administration or administering of drugs, all right, or sorcery, magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it, okay, and poisoning, and metaphorically the depictions, the deceptions and seductions of idolatry. So again, it can mean sorcery or witchcraft, but the use or administration of drugs, and it's not talking about herbal tonics and herbal cures. It's talking about Esau's little things. But again, if you have to use it, you have to use it, right? You have to use it, right? And that's just how it goes, man. That's just how it goes. There was I'm not gonna even really mention it because I don't want people bugging out. All right, I don't even want people bugging out. But look, if the doctor prescribes you something like that, and you have to take it, all right, or if you can find an herbal remedy that works, that's great. But if you have to be on that thing, then you have to be on that thing. The Lord's gonna have mercy on you for that. He's not gonna have you stop taking it, and then your heart's gonna explode and you're gonna die, right? That if you have to take it, you have to take it. All right, and that we're not in a perfect state. That's why we have the mercy of Yahweh Bashim Shai. Our bodies are all fucked up in this state. All right, we're waiting for the body like Yahweh Shai, like He has, right? But pharmakeia show it means witchcraft. You look at Galatians 5:20, it says idolatry, witchcraft, and then it has Strong's G 5331, witchcraft. Or you go down here, sorceries, G 5331. Or you can see down here, sorceries, G 5331. So Strong's G 5331 is pharmakeia. So that's dealing with witchcraft. All right, so really it's witchcraft, all right, to be consuming those things. A lot of things are witchcraft, okay? And again, if you have to be on those things, Lord's going to have mercy on you. If you have a very, very specific, and really because we don't know all of the herbal remedies, right? Esau's made a pretty good job of getting rid of all the healing recipes, right? We know some, but we don't know all right? Some brothers out there are really blessed, though, and through Yahweh Bashim Shai, they know what to do, right? They're like herbalists, all right? But, yeah, man, so it's just, if you have to be on a blood thinner or something like that, and, I mean, you can try for a little bit being on a herb and see if that helps you just as well, and Lord willing it does, but if not, if you have to be on those, you have to be on those, man, and that's why we have the mercy of Yahweh Bashim Shai. It's the same thing, but sometimes we have to buy on Sabbath. We don't want to. That's technically punishable by death. The Lord killed a man because he picked up sticks, or that was working. Sometimes you have to work on Sabbath. All right, the Lord killed a man because he worked on Sabbath, because he picked up sticks. All right, but we have mercy. All right, we're not under not under law, but under grace. All right, doesn't mean that the law was done away with. Doesn't mean we should completely reject the law. We should keep it to the best of our ability. But at the end of the day, we have mercy. We have grace through Yahweh Bashim Shai, or else we'd all be dead. We'd all be dead. All right, we would all be dead. Okay, so if you got to be on a blood thinner, you got to be on a blood thinner, man. That's just how it has to be. Okay. And there was like I said, there was something that I said that there was something that Apostle Har said once, and I was gonna quote it, but I don't even want to quote it. Not that he said anything wrong, all right, but I don't want people to get the wrong idea, because what he said could be taken very highly out of context by people, and I don't want that even going out there. And it had to do with consuming, all right, a specific substance, all right, in a specific type of way, all right, that normally we would say is unlawful, all right, is wicked. You shouldn't do it. But in a certain way, if that was what had to be done, it wouldn't be wicked because we have mercies of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. But again, you can sit there and you could, I wonder what it was. Well, you're going to have to sit there and wonder what it was. If the Lord wants you, he'll have you find that video, but I'm not going to mention what it was because, again, it's a volatile subject, and if you don't have the right way of thinking, you're going to run out and go and, buy a whole bunch of it and just fucking destroy yourself with it. So I'm not going to mention it. All right, those that's meant to find it, they'll see it. All right, but because even at the time, even the other apostles and Bishop Sakharon was like, what apostle with this? And he's like, no, if you have to, do that thing, you have to do that thing. All right, and that's how you're going to do it. And they say, oh, yeah, okay. All right, so, and you can't be, we have mercy. There's certain things anyway, I'm getting off of it because, I'm not going to inspire. People are already curious. I already know people are going to be curious. Not going to mention it. But here's the thing, man, with substances, whether it be something that's lawful, such as cannabis, or alcohol, all right, you can't become addicted to every day at 3:45 or every day at 4:20. I gotta have my marijuana. I gotta have it, man. I gotta put on some Barrington Levy, and I gotta sit there, and I gotta take 8 edibles. Right? No, man, I want to be in the couch, man. No, all right, no. Now, sometimes if you're using cannabis, you're gonna get fucking way too high. Same thing with alcohol. If you fuck up the moderation amount, and you should really get down to a point, you're gonna get too drunk. It's with anything that you use. If you use too much anything, for example, if you use too much nutmeg in a pie, you can hallucinate. Bet you didn't know that. You can look that up. Nutmeg is actually a hallucinogen and used in high amounts. Now you have to take a shitload of it, all right, and it's a horrible trip from what I've heard. But yeah, but most people didn't know that. When I found that out, I was like, really? Nutmeg is a hallucinogen? Yes, it's a hallucinogen. But no one would know that because they consume it in moderation, right? Moderation, all right, a just balance. Okay, now you can't consume, again, heroin or cocaine in any amount. It's even a little bit's off. All right, there's no balance. But when something is lawful and you start consuming it in excess, it becomes unlawful, right? And also now you're tied down to this addiction. All right, you can't smoke cigarettes. All right, now here it is, you're on cigarettes or whatever you're on. You're not free. All right, you're addicted to marijuana, smoking it and consuming it and whatever way constantly, all right, then, you're not free. Shooting heroin, you're not free, even with alcohol, all right, you're not free. If you're addicted to something, all right, John 8:32, it says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You're not free if you're bound and slave to a substance, man. You're not free. You're slave to a cigarette, all right? You're slave to the bottle. All right, you're not free. Okay, you're not free. So you're really not in this truth. All right, you really wouldn't be in this truth if you're addicted to something like that. And then, of course, Proverbs 25:28, it says, "He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls." And really, you have no rule over your spirit when you're under the influence like that to an extreme level, right? It's got you in a bad state. All right, and you have no control over yourself. You lack control. Someone that's an alcoholic like that, all right, or a weed head, all right, they don't have control over themselves. All right, the substance has control over them. All right, you have a little bit of alcohol, you have control. You have a little bit of cannabis, you have control. You have too much, you've lost control. All right, and now, and especially when you're bound to it and you must have it, you have no rule over your own spirit. All right, that item, demons have gotten on you, and that item is now an addiction unto you. All right, you can't have that, man. You can't have that. All right, so that's where we're gonna close out. Lord willing, this was edifying, right? So, and again, don't think that this is any time. I'm gonna start drinking. If you don't drink, you don't need to drink. It's not. Look, just because there's a scripture that says all things are lawful to me, but all things edify not. All things are lawful, but not all things are expedient. All right, roughly paraphrasing. I think I got it backwards. So if you're not a drinker, you don't need to start drinking, all right? If you don't use cannabis to heal your ails, then you don't need to start using it, all right? And if you do start using it, doesn't mean you're wicked. It's just, look, man, I'm not, again, No personal advice. Use your discernment. All right. We can't give you advice on every single thing. No, should I buy bone in or bone out chicken, brother? I don't really know. Should I buy bone in or bone out? Look, man, you're going to have to just do some things, man. You're going to have to learn to help yourself. All right. At the end of the day, we can't help you with every single thing, man. You're going to have to wait some things through your how about me, how shy. Does it feel dirty? Does it feel bad? If it feels dirty, if it feels bad, then maybe it's not for you, man. Maybe it's not for you. Right. So that's all I can give you. So that's where we're going to close out. Lord, what was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. I want to say shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until the next one, Lord willing, shalom.